Hi guys, this is national bestseller How Come No One Told Me That by Prakash Iyer, Chapter 9. Style versus substance is an oft mentioned debate, and it's no surprise that everyone agrees that substance is what matters, that it's the real deal. But the mistake we make, even as we argue and win the debate, is that we dismiss the style as irrelevant and completely useless. That is a terrible mistake. A mistake we often make in resolving such debates. In trying to prove that one thing is better than the other, we try and prove that the other thing is useless and inconsequential, when all we had to do was to show that it mattered less. Soft skills versus hard skills, skill versus attitude, experience versus potential. The list is endless. A good thing to remember, we are not as rational as we think. Even as you are convinced about what matters more, pause and think about how the less important bit might still matter. Do that and you will be surprised. Judge a book by its cover. Everyone does. Chia Jung Tse is an associate professor at the University College London School of Management. She is also the kind of multi-talented person we all admire. She has a PhD in organizational behavior and psychology and another PhD in music from Harvard. She is an accomplished pianist too, having performed at Carnegie Hall. As she watched one of those talent contests on TV one night, a question popped up in her head. How do people judge performances in a music contest? The psychologist cum pianist was keen to find an answer. She got over 1,000 people to participate in a study that aimed to find some answers to that question. The participants ranged from novice musicians to professional music educators. In the experiment, they were handed out clips from an international piano competition. They were then asked to rate the performances and guess who the winner of the competition was. And here's the interesting bit. The participants were divided into 3 groups. One group was given audio clips. They could only hear the pianist and not see them. And the second group of people was shown video clips with the audio on mute, so they could see the performers but not hear them play the piano. And the third group was shown video clips with the audio intact, so they could watch both and hear the audio intact. Based on what they had heard or seen or heard and seen, the participant had to guess who had won the competition. Now everyone will tell you that in a music competition, it is the sound that matters the most. But guess what? In Dr. Say's experiment, the participants who watched the silent video did the best. Think about that. Incredibly, the group that couldn't hear the music at all was able to identify the winners better than the group that could only hear the music. Participants who saw and heard the pianist did a lot worse than those who could only see the pianist. The message from the study was clear. We depend more on visual cues when making judgments, even about musical performances. It turns out musical performances are more than just about the sounds musicians make. Piano teachers focus on teaching kids how to get their pianos to produce the best sounds, but competition judges seem to be looking at something else when it comes to picking the winners. A variant of the piano experiment plays out in many areas of our lives, like recruitment, for instance. In a typical job interview, we are looking for the ability as well as intellect and experience. But we get swayed by the looks of the candidate more than we'd like to acknowledge. As Dr. says, we must be more mindful of our inclination to depend on visual information at the expense of the content that we actually value as more relevant to our decisions. Sure, we need to watch out for the trap. Don't allow visual cues to dominate our decision making, even when it is irrelevant. We also need to recognize the role of visual communication and optics. They impact our judgment far more than we think, and other people's judgments too. it's good to be a proficient pianist, but it's even better to look like one. At work, we sometimes worry about not being recognized despite doing the hard work and delivering the great results. Yet, apart from doing a good job, we need to focus on being seen to be doing a good job too. Former Australian cricketer Ian Chappell talks about some fabulous advice his father gave him. If you want to be a cricketer, son, start by looking like one. That's great leadership advice too. If you want to be a leader, start by looking like one. If you want to be a winner, start by looking like one. And that's true for teams and organizations as well. Think of the hurdle that the Indian cricket team engages in. Everyone agrees it smells like team spirit. Watch how they celebrate. Notice how we watch intently when the TV cameras capture the scenes in the dressing room. We look for clues. We look at who the captain is speaking with. What are the expressions on the players' faces? All these go into our judgment of how good the team is. Reminds me of my early days as Unilever in India, the good old HLL. All the directors of the company would wear ties to work. The rest of us never wore a tie. Except one high-performing general manager who very soon went on to get promoted and became one of the youngest directors at HLL. This is not a suggestion to say you should fake it till you make it. Just a reminder that ability matters and talent rules, sure. But combine that with the appearance and looking the part, and you help yourself, increasing the odds that you would succeed. Don't judge a book by its cover is the advice we have all heard. But we haven't heeded it, have we? We get attracted by the cover and instinctively reach out for that book at the airport bookstore. Publishers recognize the huge role that a book cover plays in ensuring the success of the book. Of course, publishers recognize the huge role that a book cover plays in ensuring the success of the book. Of course, a good cover won't ensure a bad book. You need to write a good book, but having done that, you shouldn't stop. Get a great cover, make sure you look good. Which is also why the executive presence is so important and yet so underrated. How do you come across to other people? Do you inspire trust or confidence? Do you like someone people want to work with? Leadership development often focuses on developing people get better. Time to focus on helping them look better too. How you speak, how you dress, your mannerisms, the gravitas you display, all these matter far more than they are given credit for. Next time you are meeting customers or interacting with your team, think of the piano contest. Imagine that your video is on mute and you are being judged. In our time-starved world, people don't have the patience to dig deep. They don't have time to discover what's beneath the surface. A good book cover, the looks and the appearance, these serve as filters. Hacks that enable you to discover a real gem. Next time, try and avoid the bias of visual cues in your judgments. And even as you do that, remember that's the way of the world. Don't shortchange yourself. Don't kid yourself into believing otherwise. It doesn't matter whether you like it or not. Appearances matter. Next time, try and avoid the bias of visual cues in your judgments. And even as you do that, remember that's the way of the world. Appearances matter. That's it for Chapter 9. See you in the next one.